Okay. Okay, I think we're moving. Okay, so I think we're going.
Yeah.
You can tell that we're recording.
Yeah, it shows on the top left.
Oh,
There's like
I
a
see.
red button.
There's a red button or a red circle near my icon.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about. I'm going to pull open a piece of code. In fact, this is the sample code that's included with the chapter. So in fact, I've already pulled it open. Oh, and I need to share my screen, don't I? Let me do that. Share window. Okay. Yeah, I'll share everything with you. Okay, so okay, you're probably seeing yourself now.
Yeah.
We're sitting there side by side. See that? Isn't that a great view?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pull open. I'm using JGrasp. I don't know. What did you decide to use for your IDE?
I also use JGrasp.
JGrasp. Okay. I think my version's probably a little bit older. I haven't bothered to update it. Anyway, I got some code here. This is the sample code, and I can talk to a lot of things that I'm interested in and that I'm actually grading on. In fact, let me show you too. Let's see. When I go to a chapter, okay, so we're doing variables here. I pull open. I just be open with you. Oh, and I have. Let me get this Windows. Okay, and this doesn't work, so I have to cancel it every time. Okay, so this is what I use when I'm grading. So this is these points here are from the grading criteria, and this one's kind of customized. The assignment this week is the scale solar system. So we're going to work on some code that does that. But what I'm looking for right off the bat is you put your name at the top of the file, and I'm looking for that first. And if you don't, I got a point for that. Indenting, I don't recall off the top of my head how you did on that, but there were some people who had a little problem with indenting, and I can talk about that a minute here. And I'd like to see some comments. There's not a lot of code as yet, but it would be really nice to start that habit and to do comments. And Nihit, am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had any coding experience?
When I was in high school, I did like intro to coding, but it was very minimal.
Okay, what was the language that you used?
I'm not sure. It was very simple. I don't even think we learned a language. It was just like the College Board. They just gave us their sample, like they had their own software, and then it was very basic programming.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyway, sometimes people have experience and they may already be doing some things that may irritate professional people. So anyway, they'd be getting the wrong habits. But comments are things that lots of people resist. I'm looking for something. And one of the things I'm asking for a built-in comment is to label that closing curly. Closing curly is both in classes and methods, and you probably don't even know what that means yet. But I'm going to start to talk about that today. So, and then another thing I'm looking for is constants, and I'll talk about that as well. Okay, so proper use of constants goes along with unnamed numeric constants. Okay, so I'll talk about that here shortly. And then proper functionalities. Does the thing work? Okay, and then prompts to the user. Do they make sense? In fact, I've had programs where I open up and the thing has this blinking cursor sitting there. It's like, what am I supposed to do? So a little bit of information to the user is very important. And in fact, helping them to go through the sequence of your program, if you've got a number of places where you might expect some input, if you're expecting a value, tell them what the units are. This is in dollars, or this is in feet, or whatever the units are that you're looking for. And then finally, on this particular assignment, this time there's some advice that I'm just asking you to add to your someplace, wherever you feel is convenient. You can put it in as a comment in your code, or send a separate file or something. The assignment is asking for, what advice should Camille give to her niece? So, okay, so that's how I grade, and then I just take the points off. Now, if you didn't get any points out, what I normally do is I put good work here, and by the way, I use capital letters on everything, all my feedback, just to make sure that it stands out against this mixed case. Okay, I'm not shouting. I know I do understand netiquette. Okay, I get it. But this is a different purpose. I'm not shouting. Like, for instance, this. Make sure to download and examine my solutions. Okay, and I should talk about that too. My solutions are attached with your feedback. So on this last assignment, were you able to find my solution?
No, it said like superb, and then I couldn't see anything else.
Yeah,
Let me try to look for
splendid. It said splendid.
Splendid. Okay.
I had to come up with something really weird to be extraordinary. So, okay, so you did okay. You didn't get any points off at all. So
No, yeah, all the things made sense, like about the grading. What just had me confused was like when you go through the lesson and when you're doing the work, like for you to even put the code in, like you need to have them in the colons and everything. And I was just confused on like why certain things are the way they are.
Yeah.
Like before you even start coding, you're putting public class, and then you're putting the name, and then you're putting the colons, and then you're also putting like public static void main. Like it never explained that, and I was just wondering like what's the purpose of that and what it does.
Okay. I think we'll get to it by and by, but I think this is unfortunately the way you have to get started with coding. Otherwise, you'll just get bogged down in all kinds of details. But so let's consider some of that as the scaffolding or the boilerplating that you have to put up in order to get your program to work, and then it'll work. And we'll get all of that explained in the matter of course. How's
Okay.
that? And I can understand your frustration. It's like, why am I doing this? I'd sure like an answer. And
Yeah.
and going out and researching it on your own is fine too, if you're inclined to do that. So okay, so now I really want you to find the solution that I added to your code. So let me turn it over to you, and I'm going to walk you through how to find my solution. And so what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. And then you should be able to share then your screen. And then what I'd like you to do is go into D2L, go to the grading section, and yeah, we might
Okay, I see it. I see it now. Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah, I see your solution.
You see where I added. Okay, so you
Yeah.
don't need to add your screen, I guess. Then I'm thinking about they're getting pretty picky about other students seeing other students' stuff. So okay, so we haven't added it. It's not recorded. So okay, you see it. Tell me where you're seeing it so we have it documented here.
So I just went to grades, and then it says homework 1. If I just scroll all the way down, it just says attached files below the grading, and then it just says personalinfo.java.
That's it. And that's where I'm going to add the solution all the time. So everybody will get their own copy. I don't publish the solution just kind of globally. Everybody gets their own copy. Okay, so I'm gonna share again.
Okay.
And okay, so I want to select the screen. Okay, so you should see my screen again. All right, so that's that. So let me go back then to the let me go back to the code. So this is the sample code. So okay, so you were talking about some confusion here, but let me go through the pieces of this code. And of course, this is the code right here. And if I extend it big enough, I can probably see the whole file just about. Yeah, all in one screen. Okay, so it's not a very big program, but it's all in one screen. Can you see that all now?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me point out some of the things. So first of all, I gotta have a header and it has your name, not me, but your name, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to have any revision history or anything like that. And you can see the way I'm doing a revision history is the latest thing is on top. Okay, so it'd be a reverse chronological order on that. The reason for that is I can see, I don't have to scroll down. I tell you what, being on projects that have lasted over many years, these lists can get really long. And so if you have to scroll down a page or two to see the latest thing, it might be better to just have it toward the top, reverse chronological. Okay, so all right, let's see. You were asking about the public class, whatever. Okay, the main thing here is we're actually dealing with classes at this point. Classes are what allow us to do object-oriented programming, and we'll get to that in more detail later in this course. But this name here must match the file name .java. Okay, so you see tax, capital tip, capital total. And that's the same exact name, case sensitive and everything, .java that the file name is down here. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the other thing to point out is JGrasp has this flyover identification of pairs of curly brackets and parentheses. So you can see that on this line down here at the bottom, and I forgot to turn on line numbers, and that would take me a few minutes to figure that out, unless you know how to do it.
I don't.
You don't know how to do it. Okay, so that's okay. So now the good thing about this is that if I have the screen, like I've made it so that you can't see the one at the bottom, okay, but it'll light up here. See, it kind of makes this dotted line across the center of the screen, and then you see /end class. So you can see that this is you can see the pair coming together. Now, the other thing that there's a discussion about is or people do it one of two ways. They take this curly and they put it on a new separate line, and it's indented, or it's at the same indent as its corresponding curly. Another way to do it is, I'm going to fix this code just to show you. Okay, you put it on the same line right at the very end. So that's pretty cool because if you get the screen so it's set up, and you can't see the top right now, but if I go like that, I see, oh yeah, the class is tax, tip, and total, and there's where it started. So that would be an advantage to putting it at the end of the line. You follow that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, going through this code some more. So what I'm looking for is, as we went through this thing, so successful compile, you got your name in the header, and we'll get all that code on there. Okay, so your name's in the header, indenting. So curlies are they define a block of code. And so what I'm looking for there is the indentation of the next line. So here's the next line after we opened right here with this curly. The next line is 1, 2, 3 spaces indented. And then we maintain that indentation all the way down here, okay? All the way down to the closing curly of the main. So that's important. It makes it look right. It's easy to read this code when you do that. It's kind of like if you've had to do a term paper or an essay or something where you had to do an outline. It's the same kind of thing. So here's a topic, indent, and there are the details. Okay. So, and then you see I've used a lot of white space here. That's just to help in the readability of it. And then the other thing too is I'm looking for these comments. Now realize that / is a comment, and I didn't do it in this particular code, but *** are another way to make a comment. So in fact, why don't I show that right here? I'll turn the header. The header is a good place to use that kind of nomenclature. So I'm going to the end if I can. There we go. And then you end it kind of, so you /*, */, and then I can get rid of these and it's still a comment. Oop, went too many. There we go. Okay. So so that's that. I'm not sure I can save this or not. And I would save it up here. Could not open the file. Yeah, I can't change it because I pulled it out of the zip file. Yeah. Did I pull it out of the zip file? Yeah. I pulled it out down here. Yeah, it used to be the problem that I pulled it out of the zip file. It used to be a problem that I assigned, but we got an even better one. I should have pulled this one, I think. You like a better one, right? So here, I'm going to pull this one open so you can see what I'm doing. Should show up here shortly, I hope.
It's already shown up. If you go back to JGrass.
Oh, you can see it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this one. Discard the edits. Okay, so I got the same thing here. I'll just go ahead and finish my thought here, and then you can see it. And okay, so I'm going to get rid of these. Okay, so it's still a comment. So this is what they call a block comment. So you can block out a whole piece of code, which is sometimes it's useful. So for instance, this code right here is main all the way down to there, and I can tell because I've labeled a closing curly down here in main. Okay, so if I say okay, I'm not ready to go live with this main code. I can come in here and I can block comment the whole thing. Now see how it changed color in JGrass. So if I come over here and I can comment out all of that, and the two closing curlies they're black. So this would be what you would call stubbing out your code. So I know that I need a method called main. I just don't know what it's going to do yet. I have some thoughts on it. I can put it between opening and closing the block comment and carry on. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Okay, we've got our code again back in order. Okay, I've block commented that. Okay, so if I actually go ahead and run, it actually compiles and runs the code at the same time. So let's see. We can So you can do the steps separately. You can go to compile and then run, or you can just run because the file has changed. It'll recompile it. So, okay, so it's asking a question here. Please enter the charge for the food, and you'd put 100 in there, or I put 100 in there. It makes all of the. It makes all of the. We're asking, and you can see in the program, a 15% tax and a 15% tip, 15% tip and a 7% tax. So they're actually offering more in a tip than they're asking in tax. So there you go. So then you can see it showing up down here in the result. It says, okay, here's your tip that you're adding, your 7%. So those, since they're percentages off of 100, is which I added, they're exactly whatever they are. So you just add them on, and your total is then that. Okay, so another thing that I'm looking for here in your code. Okay, so comments, you can see all these comments. We just experimented with several. I talked about indenting, labeling with closing curlies, and then the proper use of constants. Okay, so here are the constants. I pulled them out as variables. The variables in this case are tip and tax. Variables are simply, and we're being introduced to them in this chapter, so the variables are just the names of address locations in memory. And I have a convention that I want to make sure that we talk about before I get off the phone here. But okay, so but a constant is a special kind of variable, and there's an agreement. A variable kind of by definition means that it's going to change. Okay, but a constant is a variable that we agree we're not going to change for the for the lifetime of the program. And the lifetime of the program is from the time it starts to the time it ends. Okay, so from the run, basically another name for that is runtime. So for the runtime of the program, these values will be these that we've set. Okay, so the way you designate a constant is it has a type, a data type. Like in this particular case, it's double. But they could be integers or strings. They could even be classes. It may get a little fuzzy as to what's being held as constant in that case, but you could. And then the main thing that sets it off as a constant is it's final. It means that's it. It's not changing. The value in this thing will not change. And in fact, when you run the compiler, and if it finds that in your code you're trying to make an assignment to this this variable, it'll choke. You won't be able to run the compiler. In fact, now that's what I'm saying. What if I decided right here that I'm going to change tip to let's see, let's call it 0.20, right? And we need a semicolon for that. Okay, so we're going to have to compile now. Actually, if I did run, that should create an error there. There you go. Look at that right away. Okay, so it's got an error. Cannot assign a value to a static final variable tip. Okay, so you just can't do that. So it's decided this is never going to change. You agreed with the compiler through that it won't change. So anyway, we can comment this out, okay? And I like to put commenting out all the way to the left there, ignoring indentation while I'm building my code. So now if I run this thing, it should run again. Okay, so we fixed it. So so there we go. All right, so let's see what else. Now the static part, we can come back to that, but it has to do with visibility, and we'll get to that later. And so public is also a visibility the opposing thing here is private, so public and private. So if you put something as private, no one will be able to access it. So anyway, but we're probably getting ahead of ourselves. Now, all programs in Java will have a main, and that's what we have here. This is, we've talked about the class, and the class contains methods and data. So here's some data that's in the class, and here's a method that's in the class. And we'll get to that in more detail when we talk about object-oriented programming. But you'll find shortly that you can have more functions than just main. But for now, with our simple programs, we'll just have a main. And the main, or a function like main, can have its own variables. So here are variables right here. And these variables are they all have a type, they have a name, okay? And you can initialize them to something. So so this value tip is the calculated value for the tip. Okay, and we'll use that variable here. You can see it being used actually here in conjunction with the constants that we've defined outside, or we've declared them outside of main, but they're declared inside the class. So that's another concept that we'll get to in more detail, but just to let you know that anything that's declared between a set of curlies like this is visible within that set of curlies. So if I was if I was doing some code elsewhere inside class but outside main, these variables would not be visible outside of main. Again, that's something that we'll get to in shortly. One thing that we are on the hook for in this lesson is you're going to have to understand how to get information from the user. And that's when we start to use this thing called keyboard. So a key is that you have to import this library from the utilities, Java utilities, called scanner. And then you're going to make a, let's see. Yeah, here you go. You're going to make an instance of scanner. So a scanner is an object, right? So when you make a new scanner right here, I call it keyboard because we don't intend to change it. It's of type scanner. It's following the same recipe as I did for these other constants here, right? It's final and it's static, and we'll get back to static in the future. And a lot of these lines you're seeing, they're ending in semicolons. Sometimes if you're missing a semicolon, it'll be a weird error. In fact, let's do one. Let's say I left the semicolon off of this one, okay? And I try to recompile that thing. I better end what's running. Okay, boom. All right, so it says tip. He's telling me flat out, error, you're missing an expected semicolon. So sometimes if you're missing a semicolon, let's try it on this one. Sometimes it'll report an error farther down. Now let's try that one. Then I want to try this one here too on the food charge or the tax. So let's go ahead and run that one. And by the way, what I'm showing you, it told me exactly where it's at. So right here it says error semicolon expected. So all right, so I can't get away with that one. And I think what I'm trying to get at is sometimes if I miss a semicolon here, it'll report an error farther down, because what it'll do is think that this code runs into this code. Code farther down, and says, "Oh, I can't do that because I'm confused." So okay, let's see if we can make it look bad. No, it tells me exactly where the semicolon goes. So anyway, we'll put them all back, and okay, so that's how that works. As far as how this code works, in this particular case, we're actually running some calculations here, and we're doing assignment then into the variables that we have previously declared. So understand that this is the place where I'm declaring variables, as well as I'm declaring these constants, which are variables, but they don't change. We've made an agreement with the final. They're not going to change for the lifetime of this program. It's important to use these things. So, okay. So we declared the variables, and then we're going to use those variables. So in this particular case, you got the food charge, and the food charge is something that you picked up from the user. Okay, we've declared it's of type double up here in the variables, called food charge, and we go ahead and use it down here, and we take and expect an integer from the keyboard, and we stick that into the variable food charge. Remember, a variable is underneath the name. There's an address that points to a piece in memory.
Okay.
Okay. So okay. So now the constants, here they are. They come into play now. So I use the value that I'm using, that I declared up here for tip, and I simply stick it in here. Well, the compiler knows enough to say, okay, I'm going to stick 0.15 right here. And in fact, 0.07 goes for tax right here. And then in both cases, we take the food charge that the user put in there, and then reassign these variables that we had initialized at 0 to whatever the result is. So tax and tip go right there. And then when you use the print now, so last week we just used strings in our print statements, but this time you need to add on the variable. And now one thing that's important that a lot of times people miss, and I mean, it's not a showstopper here, and I take off if it's confusing to the user. But I put space in here, and if you don't put space, it might look funny. So, but sometimes you want space behind the last character of your legend, so to speak. So let's go ahead and try this one. One of the things I'm also doing here is I'm showing you how to debug, so you can try various things. So I can comment out this piece of code, and now I can mess around with this code, and then I'll just throw it away later. But what would happen if I took that space out? Okay, well, you can see that it's all crammed together, and it may or may not look nice anymore. So let's run it. Okay, we'll just stick with the $100. Okay, so now tip, yeah, see no space in there. Now, does that look bad? I don't know. Up to the user. But sometimes, like if I was just taking, in this particular case, if I put a space there, now that would definitely start to look funny. I'll put 100 in here. So now $ space 15. That's not pleasing at all. So sometimes you use a space, sometimes you don't, and that falls into the category of the user prompts make sense, and that's where we're at there. And then as far as proper functionalities, does the thing work, right? So
yeah.
So that's that. How are we doing for time? 3:18. Okay, so what I should probably do is let's go back. Let's go back to here. Yeah, I want to go to the content. Yeah, that's where it's at. Okay, so one of the things we'll listen to instructions. There's what I'm looking for here, the hit is, oh, I think it's here. It's in the supplemental. Oh my gosh. There's nothing in the supplemental. To do. Oh boy, hope I didn't mess something up. Oh, here, yeah, it's in there. It's coded. This is what I'm after. Coding style for this course. So I stuck it there. I hope this is an okay place to put it. Yeah, actually, I did it. It's in the it's pulled together in the syllabus section of the content. But
Yeah.
but here it is. There's a particular naming convention that I'd like everybody to do in the class. And so I want to scroll down here. Let's see if I can pull this up to here. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here. So we talk about white space at the beginning, then braces. And I should probably move this right to the top because this is the most important thing. In fact, it's miscellaneous too. So we just talked about variables, okay? So here we are, variables and parameters. These are camel case. So do you know why don't you tell me what you know about camel case?
I don't.
You don't know? Okay.
No.
Okay. So camel case is a convention or a way to create a name, which is like this name here. Okay. So you can cram together a bunch of words, and the first letter in each word is capitalized. Okay. However, for a variable or a parameter, which are variables, and we're going to talk about parameters when we get to functions, but you leave the first character lowercase. Now, that's as opposed to a class, which we use camel case, but in this particular case, the first character is uppercase. Okay, so class names should always start with a capital, uppercase letter, uppercase character. Okay, now it turns out then that variables and parameters and functions, we're going to use the camel case convention again. Okay, so now, I didn't give an example of a function, but a function here would be like if this was user key, then there would be a pair of parentheses following it. And an example of a function in this code is main, and here are the following curlies, and you can see the flyover matching of parentheses.
Yeah.
So, okay, where was I? Back to here. All right, now here are the named constants. Okay, so I emphasize that by capitalizing the thing. But now you're using uppercase characters with underscores between words. Okay, so there's another convention that actually uses lowercase for variables with underscores between, but we're not doing that. We're going to use camel case for variables and functions and classes, except classes start off with an uppercase character. All of the others are lowercase first character. Constants, everything's capital, and to differentiate between the words, you put an underscore. Now I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that. So when I say proper use of constants, I'm looking for that. And this, by the way, is the notation for C, C++. But you can see from my example here, this is the way you do constants. The key being final. In C++, they just abbreviate constant to just CONST. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me go back to here. Okay. Yeah, and okay, so this is now falls under the suggestion. So variables usually declared early within the file, not within the code. That actually is preferred, and you can see that here. So the first available time to declare the variables we did right here, okay, inside of main. So remember, main is what's between the opening and closing curly.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm stressing out on this, I'm not stressing out on it, but I'm stressing that you label a closing curly. It's really easy then once you see the opening curly and the closing curly that's commented, I can see, okay, there's my block of code right there. I don't need to use the flyover here or anything. So so the first thing that you did right here is declare variables. And then if you look at the class, here's the class, opening curly. First thing we do is we define all of these constants, and you could define or declare variables here as well. Okay, so let's go back to here. Boom. All right. Okay, that takes care of that. We talked about class already. And then these final two things here. Lines of code are typically less than 100 characters wide. So that's just a suggestion too. So if you look, let's see, look back at this code. I don't know where 100 characters is in here. You can see down at the bottom here, column 65. I don't know if it's gonna, yeah, I don't have anything that's out to 100, but 100, if that's 65 right there, about right there, if I had characters going out to here, that would be about 100 right there, maybe a little bit more. So usually people open up their window to about that width, and you want it to be easy for people to read and understand your code, and so keeping it to that width is good. So there are ways to carry a long line over to the next line, and that would be something that would be preferable so people can read it easier. It's a suggestion and not a rule that you want. Okay.
How would you break them up if they are like 100 lines?
Yeah, well, if it's okay, let me be more explicit then. Come on back. Okay.
Like, is it for like really long strings where you're like adding things and?
Yeah, if you're, for instance, okay, so you only have one variable here, okay?
Yeah.
This is one thing that you're trying to put out here. So, and we're actually doing the formula for this one right in the print statement, and that's permissible. We're doing the calculation for these guys back here, okay? So you got that kind of flexibility. I'm going to do this. I'm going to here. So if you had a screen, say you set the thing to 100. Let's imagine this is at 100, and you started to see this. It's like, well, oh shoot, now the guy's got to scroll to the right in order to see the full code, you know. And so it's just a rule of thumb. If you started to pull these other things down to the next line, then that you could see the code without having to scroll left and right.
Okay.
And again, it's not. It's that particular one is a suggestion.
That makes sense.
And then the last one here, and this is important. I already talked about it, but label a closing curlies for classes and functions. Okay, and I'm going to go back to here. I've said it already plenty of times, but here's the one for the class, and I just double backslash end class backslash end main. You can see that this curly goes with main. Main is a function, and that's what I'm looking for. And it looks pretty, and you want your code to look pretty.
Yeah.
So actually, you know, a lot of people Well, I started a long time ago, and a lot of people at that time were out of work and they were looking for something new to do, and they thought they could get a job in programming. And so I thought, okay, my job is then to help you to land that job and fit seamlessly into a team. Uh, and typically, you won't be working by yourself. You will be working on a team. So my thought was that I got to equip you with how to do that. And so these things that I'm showing you are ways to be accepted by your team member, your cohorts in at work, and be accepted and be able to carry on. So they're small things, but if you don't know about them, then you won't even do the small things. Okay, and then the other things up at the top of here, you can look them over, and I think basically all of these things are suggestions as well. Okay, so let's see, we got 30 minutes left, and there's a joke. You may not appreciate this, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Yeah.
The minister came to church, and he had prepared a great sermon, and so he finds out that there's only one person who's shown up that Sunday, and so he gets up. He says, "Okay, I'm going to carry on anyway." So he gets up and he delivers the sermon, and after the whole service, he asked the one parishioner on his way out. He says, "Well, how'd you like the sermon?" And the fellow says, "Well, I'm a farmer, and if only one cow shows up when I bring the hay wagon in, I don't give them the whole wagon of hay." So anyway, you see the similarity here. Okay, so but you're going to get the whole the whole wagon, okay?
Yeah.
So okay, here we go. Let's go back. I want to talk about the assignment a little bit. You may have some questions about that, and I have to find my code. Yeah, it's right here. Okay, so this thing here. Okay, so we got this hypothetical situation where Camille was asked by her niece to help her with her project for her 7th grade science fair. And Camille, whatever, she was overjoyed to have been asked. Okay, so what she wanted to do was build a scale model solar system. Okay, and so her niece remembers having received a planisphere when she was in 4th grade science class. Okay, so I built this thing off of a real situation. Yeah, I actually built a scale model planispheres. And do you know what a planisphere is?
No.
Boy, okay, we're really going to educate you. So
Okay.
you've probably seen them. Do you ever go hiking or anything, or find yourself in the National Park Visitor Center's gift store?
Yeah.
You have? Okay. Yeah, you just keep saying yes. Okay, so there's this one gizmo, and it's called a planisphere, but if you look at it, it's a circular thing. And so what you can do is there's a star patterns on there, and you can turn them around based on what time of the year it is and what time it is right then. And so you can get kind of a view of what the sky should be. So anyway, I made some of those once, and I was a part of the of an astronomy club, and we built a bunch of those things, and we gave them to a 4th grade science class, and I hope they all appreciated them and had fun with them. But anyway, one of the exercises that you could do on the back was make a scale model solar system. And in fact, if the solar system was the size of that circle that we had the star field on, which was 8 inches, we gave you on the back the sizes of the planets. And so basically this assignment is basically kind of reconstructing that. So here are the actual values of the diameters of all of the various planets. And by the way, I qualified Pluto as a dwarf planet. So it's still a planet, but dwarf. Okay. It's just not included with the rest of them. The rest of them are full size. So, okay. So these are the diameters, and then these are the distances from the sun. So the trick is, how big should they be at various sizes relative to the sun? So what if you had a, in fact, it says, what if you had an 8-inch sun? So 8 for the solar system based on the 8-inch sun right here. So if you had an 8-inch sun, so here's the example output then, which says, okay, your diameters then relative to an 8-inch sun would be these values. And then what you do is you take each of the distances and you scale them the same as you scale the sun, and you'd come up with those values in inches or feet, yards, or actually miles. And the size, it's interesting to see, to get it into something that's you can wrap your head around. So for instance, if the sun was 8 inches, Mercury is 27 feet away from that, which is like, well, that's a pretty good distance from an 8-inch. But then again, it's kind of close too, and the size of it is 0.02. It's well, let's say it's 3/100ths of an inch, which is pretty darn small. And it's something to wrap your head around. But if you go out to Pluto, you actually have to go to miles to make something understandable. So it's like a half a mile away from an 8-inch sun. And in my neighborhood, I look south of me. I live in Longmont, and I look south of me to the next major road. That's about a half a mile away, and that's a long way away. And in fact, if you look at the size of it relative to the scale size of Mercury, it's about half the size of that. And that's why they call it a dwarf planet. Anyway, even the largest planets, with an 8-inch sun, you're not even talking an inch yet, but it's like a little over 3/4 of an inch for Jupiter and Saturn, which are our biggest planets, right? So anyway, that's the exercise. And then what you would do, I'm kind of adding at the bottom here what Camille said. Yeah, I guess I already gave you the answer there, didn't I? So, what advice will you give to Camilla and her niece for the actual building? Yeah, so if you had to take this, imagining a school gymnasium, and how would you help her with her science project setup? So that's that. Okay. Any questions there to hit?
No.
How was the whole wagon load of hay?
It's great.
That's great, man. We like it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't think of anything else. We talked about the problems that you had in your homework, or you couldn't find my solution. So we found that now.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about code and how we're structuring that, what I'm looking for constants and labeling closing curlies. I think we covered it, talked about this week's lesson. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, one more thing I need to talk about. Sorry. The discussions. I think people are missing. They're missing lots of points on the discussions. And these are easy. I really set it up to be easy. here, I'm going to show this here. Did I put that on here? I didn't yet. Okay. Let me go back. Okay, I want to show you the discussion thing. So here's my, that's the solution. Okay, so here's everybody. Okay, what I'm doing is on your feedback, you look at your feedback, and I've also included the breakdown of the discussion credit. So when you turn in your assignment, then you get your assignment feedback up here, and then I'm giving you the feedback for the discussion as well. And here are the components of that grade. So you got your initial discussion posting, and you get 3 points for that. Okay, if you respond to somebody else, you get 2 points, and that's your grade, 5 points. All right. Now, if in addition someone responded to you, you get 2 more points. See, the max you could get is 7 points. So what we have, what actually happened, let's go out here and take a look, because you can see the discussion. Lesson 1. Okay, and if you can, I don't know if you have this view, but if you look at it in the grid view, there were only, like, Caleb put a discussion out there, and only one person responded, right? And
Yeah.
Sarah did, and you responded to that one, okay?
Yeah.
So, and no one responded to you, and that's unfortunate, but you got full credit because you put a post out and you did a response, okay? So if everybody would start responding, then everybody would have a response and everybody would get the extra credit point. So I guess I don't know what else to say, then that's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's what I had in mind. I can't think of anything else that I wanted to talk about. And you have nothing more to talk about, so I guess we'll just wrap it up.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
all right, so I'll let you go, and
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the recording. So I'm not sure whether you have to stop the recording first or leave. I better stop the recording before.
Do you know where the recordings are set? Because I was trying to find them. I couldn't.
Yeah, I didn't post it yet.
Okay.
I'll do that too. So yeah, really, Nahid, I have mixed emotions about posting recordings, because it may lead to, I'm not going to just sit here and talk to nobody. If no cow shows up, I'm not going to empty the wagon. I'm going to keep the hay and use it until there's some cows that showed up. So
I think you just need to make an announcement about, like, maybe on like content of like, this is how you access meetings, because I think people are trying to join, but they're not able to figure it out.
Yeah,
that's just my theory.
That's a good theory, but I question it. Okay. What I think is people need an incentive. So maybe I need to add some points to attending this meeting. I think that might do the trick. So we could start points next time. I'll have to think about it. I'll dream about it. Anyway, let me just stop this thing. Stop recording, and then stop recording. Stop.